Dear children, good morning all of you. Today we will see very important topic in plus 2. This is first chapter computer science in class plus 2. The topic is function. Generally, function is one of the important data type. Okay, array, function, pointer, reference. These four is a derived data types. But in Python, in this function chapter is a main role. Why? Because this function is a building blocks of programming languages, right? That function about we will see today. But in the function concept learn before, just we will see an introduction about an algorithm, right? In this an algorithm is what? Okay, an algorithm is a step-by-step sequence of statements to solve a problem. The most important criteria in writing and evaluating the algorithm is the time it takes to complete a task. This duration of computation time must be independent of the programming language, compiler and computer used. So these algorithms are expressed using statements of a programming language. Okay, now second topic is also very important, is nothing but subroutines. What is subroutines? Subroutines are the basic building blocks of computer programs. Subroutines are the basic building blocks of computer programs. Subroutines are the small section of code that are used to perform a particular task that can be used repeatedly, right? If a bulk of statements to be repeated for many number of times, when subroutines are used to finish the task, right? This subroutine are called as functions. These subroutines are called as functions in programming languages. So in these functions about, we will see what is function. A function is a unit of code that is often defined within a greater code structure, right? A function contains a set of code that works on many kinds of inputs like variants, expressions and procedures and concrete output. Okay, yes. In this function example, we'll take specification and definition also. Let us consider the example A is equal to colon equal to 24, right? A colon equal to 24 as the expression in it, but 24 is not itself an expression, rather it is a function definition. Definitions blind values to names, in this case the value 24 being bound to the name in a single small a, in a single quotes. Definitions are not expressions. At the same time, expressions are also not treated as definitions. Definitions are distinct, so syntactic blocks. Definitions can have expressions nested inside them and vice versa. Okay, yes. Now we will see about parameters. So we know what is a parameter is nothing but channel through. Parameter is nothing but channel through. Here and this parameters is an argument, but parameters are variable in the function definition, right? Arguments are the values which are passed to a function definition. Okay, yes. Now in this function definition, variable b is the parameter and value which is passed to the variable b is the argument. Now required is precondition in the single quotes. Here returns it post condition. This also single quotes, right? Here we didn't mention types means data types. You see the program right hand side requires is a b greater than equal to 0 returns a to the power of b. Here let so respective here rec power a comma b is colon equal to if b equal to 0 then 1 else a star power of a into inside the bracket b minus 1 bracket will be closed. So what I am saying, some languages compiler solves the type interference problem in this algorithmically as it is returning 1 in the then part, it will automatically consider the type as int in a single quotes, right? Now here is the same function definition which types when we write the types annotations for a and b parentheses are mandatory, right? Explicitly annotating the types can help with debugging such an error message. The definition of a function is introduced by the keyword let comma followed by the name single quotes of the function and it is arguments. The formula that computes the image of the argument is written after an equal sign is nothing but assign sign. Okay, yes. Now a recursive function. So, a function which calls itself is called a recursive function. It is an important 1 mark or sometime 2 mark also, 3 mark also based on the questions. A function which calls itself is called recursive function. Example, let us. So here the function here rectangular let we are rec fn of a1 comma a2 is going on a power n is equal to k. Here f of n is a variable indicating an identifier being used as a function name. Here names a1 to n are variables indicating the identifiers used as parameters. Now the keyword rec in a single quotes is required if fn is a single quotes is to be a recursive function. Now example to check whether the entered number is even or odd, right? Here now we will see the program. What program? You see requires colon equal to x is greater than equal to 0 let rec even x is colon equal to now x equal to 0 here it's an OR gate and then odd of x minus 1 return even. Okay, yes. Requires x is greater than equal to 0 let odd x colon equal to x is not equal to 0 and even x minus 1 here return odd. This is a even or odd checking purpose. Now syntax for function time. Here in that example x is gives to y. Now the x and y are variables indicating types. The type x is greater than y is the type of a function that gets an input of type x and returns an output of type y. x1 gives to x2 and then it gives to y, where x1 gives x2 gives y is a type of a function that takes two inputs x1 and x2 and returns an output of type small y single quotes. Now x1 will gives to here etc x of n gives y, likewise x1 gives xn gives y as type x as input of n arguments and y type as output. So all functions are static definitions. There is no dynamic function definition. Now interface, here vessels of the interface views of implementation, right? An interface is a set of action. An interface is a set of action that an object can do. An object is an instant created from the class. In object-oriented programming language, an interface is a description of all functions that a class must have in order to be a new interface. Example, switching on light like turn on or turn off, etc. The purpose of interface is to allow the computer to enforce the properties of the class of type T. A class declaration combines the external interface, its local state, with an implementation of that interface. Here the code that carries out the behavior. The interface defines an object's visibility to the outside world. In object-oriented programs, classes are the interface and how the object is processed and executed is the implementation. Now, difference between interface and implementation. This is very important, 1 mark, and at the same time sometime 2 mark also. What is the difference between interface and implementation? Here, interface just defines what an object can do but won't actually do it. Implementation carries out the instructions defined within the interface. Implementation carries out the instruction defined in the interface. Now, characteristics of interface. What are the characteristics of interface? The class template specifies the interfaces to enable an object to be created and operated properly. An object's attributes and behavior is controlled by sending functions to the object. Now, let's take the examples of increasing a car speed. You see, this example is very nice for you. Dear children, engine gets speed, required speed, condition will true here, yes, written, and no pull fuel, right? The person who drives the car does not care about the internal working. To increase the speed of the car, he just presses the accelerator to get the desired behavior, right? Here, the accelerator is the interface between the driver, the calling object, and the engine. The called object is nothing but calling object and then called object. If a function is called speed is 70, right? Internally, engine is doing all this, where fuel, air, pressure and electricity come together to create the power to move the vehicle. All of these actions are separated from the driver. Thus, we separate interface from implementation. Now, in this example, you see, consider the following implementation functions to find the minimum of its 3 arguments. Here, let the example, you see, let minimum x, y, z, right? If x is less than y, then if x is less than z, then x is else z. Else, if y is less than z, then y else z. Okay, here condition, checking condition, the 3 variable. Now, we'll see the next important topic is types of functions. It's an important question also. Here, what are the types of functions? In these functions are classified into 2 functions. One is pure function and then another one is impure function. The example of pure function, string length and square root, sqrt. Impure function means random and then printf. You see, once you see types pure, impure function. Pure function means string length and the square root. But impure function means random and then printf. Right? Okay. Yes. Now pure function about we will see. Pure functions are functions which will give extract result when the same arguments are passed. For example, the mathematical functions sin 0 always results 0, right? This means that every time you call the function with the same arguments, you will always get the same result. So it should not have any external variable which will alter the behavior of that variable. Example, let square of x return x star x. The above function square is a pure function because it will not give different results for same input. Now I will tell about advantages of pure functions. This is important questions. Advantages of pure functions. There are various theoretical advantages of having pure functions. One advantage is that if a function is pure, then if it is called several times with the same arguments, the compiler only needs to actually call the function once. Evaluation of pure functions does not cause any side effects to its output. Finding string length is an example of pure function. Now, example of pure function. Once you see here, example, let I is equal to 0. If I less than string length of s, then do something which does not affect s plus I. Example of pure function. If it is compiled strlen and string length of s is called each time and string length needs to iterate over the whole of s. Here string length is a pure function because the function takes one variable as a parameter and accesses it to find its length. This function reads external memory but does not change it, and the value returned derives from the external memory accessed. Now impure function. The variable used inside the function may cause side effects through the functions which are not passed with any argument. In such cases, the function is called impure functions. When a function depends on the variables or functions outside of its definition block, you can never be sure that the function will behave the same every time it is called. For example, the mathematical functions random will give different outputs for the same function call, right? Now examples of functions. Here you see the example, random number, let a random. If a greater than equal to 10, then return a, else return b. Here a was assigned by a random function, right? So every time the value will be different, which will affect the loop. Random is impure function as it is not sure what will be the result when we call the function, right? Now side effects of impure function. As you are aware, function has side effects when it has observable interaction with the outside world. There are situations our functions can become impure through our goal is to make our function pure. It is to clarify that side effects is not a necessary bad thing. Sometimes they are useful, especially outside functional programming paradigm. One of the most popular group of side effects is modifying the variable outside the function. Now modify variable outside function. You see an example. Here let y equal to 0, integer of inc of integer of x. Here y equal to y plus x, written y. Here the value of y get changed inside the function definition, due to which the result will change. So each time the side effect of the inc function is it changing the data of the external visible variable y, right? Few side effects are very easy to find, some are very tricky. A good sign that our function impure is that it does not take any argument and it does not return any value. Now, what is the difference between pure and impure function? This is very important. 2 mark, 3 mark and 5 mark also. The return value of the pure functions solely depends on its arguments passed. The return value of the impure function does not depend on its argument passed. If you call the pure function with the same set of arguments, you will always get the same return values, right? If you call the impure functions with the same set of arguments, you might get the different return values. They do not modify the arguments which are passed to them. They may modify the arguments which are passed to them. Now, here also difference between same pure and impure functions. Pure functions returns always the same result when gives the same argument. Impure functions may return a different result when given the same arguments. Have never side effects. Here may have side effects. Never change the state of the program. May change the state of the program. Now let us see the example of a pure function to determine the greatest common divisor. This is nothing but GCD of two positive integer numbers. Here let REC of GCD A be. Here if B is not equal to 0, then GCD B of A mod B. Here else written A. Output GCD 13, 27. We'll find out the result. Integer equal to 1. GCD is 205367826. Integer equal to 2. In this example, the function name is GCD, which recursively called till the variable b becomes 0. Remember, b and a mod b are two arguments passed to a function a and b of the GCD function. Now here, chameleons of chromimal problem using function. Here you see, once I will tell you. Chameleons of chromiland problem using function. What is this, sir? You can recall the here chameleons of the chromiland problem which you have studied in class +1, right? Precondition. Suppose two types of chameleons are equal in number. Construct an algorithm that arranges meeting between these two types so that they change their color to the third types. Here post condition, all should display the same color. We will represent the number of chameleons of each type by variable a, b, c and their initial value by a, b, c respectively. Now we will see input property let a equal to b, input and output relation a equal to b equal to 0 and c equal to a plus b plus c. Name of the algorithm monochromatize. Here we can specify the monochromatize a, b, c. Inputs a equal to capital A, small b equal to capital B, small c equal to capital C, a equal to b. Outputs here the a equal to b equal to 0, now c equal to a plus b plus c. In each interactive step, two chameleons of the here two types equally number meet and change their colors to the third one. Okay, here example I will tell you. This is an example. Example interaction, in the terms iteration A, B, C 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here also 4, 4, 6. Here also given iteration. Here 3, 3, 8. Again 2, 2, 10. 1, 1, 12 and 0, 0, 14. You see the example. If A equal to B equal to C equal to 4, 4, 6, then the series of meeting will result like here this. In each meeting, A and B each decrease by 1 and C increase by 2. The solutions can be expressed as an interactive algorithms. Here monochromatize A, B, C. Here inputs A equal to capital A, B equal to caps B, and small c equal to cap C, A equal to B. Outputs A equal to B equal to 0, here C equal to A plus B plus C, while A greater than equal to 0, A, B, C equal to A minus 1, B minus 1, C plus 2. Now we'll see about the flow chart. You know the flow chart about flow chart is a pictorial representation of a picture element. You see the flow chart. Let us monochromatize A, B, C. If A greater than 0, then A, B, C equal to A minus 1, B minus 1, C plus 2. Else A colon equal to 0, B colon equal to 0, C equal to A plus B plus C, return C. Now here parallelogram, 3 inputs A, B, C. Condition you will check in. A greater than 0, true. A, B, C equal to A minus 1, B minus 1, C plus 2. False. A equal to 0, B equal to 0, C equal to A plus B plus C. Here A, B, C is a print statement. Now this is a key point of an algorithm. I will tell you fast. Algorithms are expressed using statement of a programming language. Subroutines are small sections of code that are used to perform a particular task that can be used repeatedly. A function of a unit of code that is often defined within a greater code structure. A function contains a set of code that works on many kinds of input and produce a concrete output. Definitions are distinct syntactic blocks. Here parameters are the variables in a function definition and arguments are the value which are passed to a function definition through the function definition. When you writing a type of annotation, the parenthesis and mandatory in the function definition. An interface is a set of action that an object can do. Interface just defines what an object can do but won't actually do it. Implementation carries out the instructions defined in the interface. Pure functions or functions which will give exact result when the same argument are passed. Finally, the variables used inside the function may cause side effects through the functions here which are not used with any arguments. Here in church arguments in church the functions, it is called impure functions. Okay, thank you. Any questions? Please, any doubts, if you contact my phone number, I'll solve your problem. Thank you for your kind cooperation.